12 days ago, Wizards banned one card in Legacy. Today, the deck it powered has 0 tournament results, while 2 cards nobody was watching a month ago are quietly rewriting the format. This is Legacy's complete state of the format for July: the ban, the Vanishing Act, and the 2 Universes Beyond cards that took its place. It starts, like it always does, with one announcement. The ban was written by Playdesign's Carmen Klomperens, and it named exactly one card: Candelabra of Tawnos. Wizards' own words: the thing most likely to cause problems for the format long-term, and the least likely to be a fun part of a cyclical metagame. Not a punishment for last week's results, a bet on where the format was headed. Candelabra of Tawnos costs 1 mana. Tap, untap, X target lands. That's the whole card. It's also a reserved list artifact from 1994, meaning Wizards can never reprint it in paper. And it's been here before. It made Legacy's very first ban list in 1996, came off in 99, and 27 years later, it's banned again. In that same announcement, Wizards said something about a completely different card that turned out to matter a lot more than the ban itself. Keep that in mind, it comes back. Here's why the price barely moves. A Legacy ban doesn't touch the Vintage or Commander tables, where the card is still completely legal. Reserved list scarcity holds the floor. A ban isn't automatically a devaluation. So what was the deck actually built on? And how do you tell when it's really gone? Every single Trini Tron Karn list ran the same 16-card core. Ancient Tomb doubles your mana for 2 life a turn. And Planar Nexus is every Urza's land at once, quietly patching whichever Tron piece the hand is missing. Karn the Great Creator shuts off every artifact ability your opponent controls the second he lands. His +1 turns a spare artifact into a real attacker, and his -2 reaches outside the game entirely, fetching a sideboard silver bullet for whatever's giving Tron trouble. Around him, Trinisphere taxes every cheap spell up to 3 mana. Disruptor Flute names your scariest answer and taxes just that. And Grim Monolith adds 3 colorless the turn it lands. The deck's whole plan is simply having more mana sooner than anyone else at the table. The One Ring is the payoff. Cast it and you get protection from everything until your next turn. Free breathing room. Then, every upkeep, 1 more burden counter, and you draw a card for each one sitting on the table. Ugin Eye of the Storms follows right behind it, exiling anything colored the moment it's cast. And Ugin deserves his own fine print. He exiles a colored permanent the moment you cast him. Then again, for every colorless spell you cast afterward, which in a deck that is nearly all colorless means constantly. His 0 ability even pays for the next threat. Here's the number that matters more than any percentage: 12. That's how many days it's been since a single Trini Tron Karn deck list cracked a published top cut anywhere in our data. Every counted list from this window predates the ban. MTG Goldfish's Joe Dyer pushed back hard on the ban itself. In No More Candles, he argued the One Ring and Karn's threat density carried Tron, not the untap trick. And in a July 8th follow-up, he made an even sharper point. Players were already abandoning Tron for something built around a very different card before the ban ever took effect. Which brings us to the deck everyone assumed inherited the crown. Reanimator's engine hasn't changed. Faithless Looting and the Secrets of Strixhaven card Grave Researcher fill the graveyard fast. Then Animate Dead puts something enormous back onto the battlefield for pennies on the dollar. Shallow Grave is the deck's dirtiest trick, and an $89 instant. It returns the top creature card of your graveyard, the top, so you stack it there first, gives it haste, then takes it back at the next end step. By that point, Gristlebrand has usually drawn you 7 cards. Even the mana base plays along. Raucous Theater and Undercity Sewers surveil a card as they enter, so a simple land drop can put Gristlebrand exactly where Shallow Grave wants him. Badlands and Underground Sea keep the colors flowing. Rakdos with a light blue touch. Gristlebrand draws 7 cards for 7 life. Atraxa Grand Unifier refills your hand from the top 10 cards of your library, and Archon of Cruelty drains 3 life and strips a card the instant it enters or attacks. Any one of these ends a game on its own. All of it hides behind discard. Unmask is free. Exile a black card from your hand instead of paying its cost. Thoughtseize takes the exact answer for 1 mana and 2 life. And Cabal Therapy comes back for a second helping, flashed back by sacrificing a creature that's already done its job. And now there's a 4th target, the single fastest rising card in our whole 83 deck Reanimator sample. Trample, Haste, 7/7. The moment it attacks, you reveal cards off the top of your library until you hit a creature, and that creature comes down tapped and swinging right alongside it. Worth settling up front, since Universes Beyond cards get this question constantly. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is Wizards' first Universes Beyond release built standard legal, which cascades all the way up. Legacy, Modern, Vintage, Commander, every one of them clean on the current ban list. Now, the card that's actually rewriting this format, starting from a month ago when it wasn't even its own deck. A month ago, this card wasn't tracked as its own archetype at all, just a scattered inclusion in a couple of decks. Today, it's Legacy's 5th most played deck, built entirely around one Marvel superhero's vehicle. 3 mana, flying, and it turns into a creature the moment you cast a non-creature spell. Cast your 4th one in a turn, and you may sacrifice it for 4 flying, haste 4/4s. 16 power out of nowhere, on a turn you were already spending on cheap spells anyway. Its price is up 22% in 9 days. That's what real demand looks like. That's the whole trick. A cheap little vehicle that suddenly isn't. And the results are loud. In a single MTGO league on July 9th, Fantasticar shells took 4 of the 8 published finishes, including 1st and 2nd place. The deck around it is a UB tempo shell doing what Legacy combo decks already do best. Brainstorm for selection, Lotus Petal for free acceleration, Force of Will and Daze so nothing gets in the way. The car isn't the engine. It's the payoff riding on top of a plan that was already this good. It's not confined to its own shell either. A Legacy Doomsday list running 4 full copies won tournament number 7 in Osaka outright. Same cantrips, same rituals, aimed at assembling a 5-card kill instead of a tempo clock. Doomsday itself deserves the fine print treatment. 3 black mana. Search your library and graveyard for 5 cards, exile everything else, and stack those 5 on top in any order, at the price of half your life. Your whole deck becomes a 5-card script, and the Osaka build ran 4 copies of the car alongside it. Put the two side by side and the swap is almost exact. Trini Tron Karn's 4.4% against the Fantasticar's 3.8. One archetype quietly disappearing, while a brand new one fills almost the same slot in the standings. Beyond the headline, Legacy is still recognizably itself. Below the top 2, nothing dramatic happened. Lands, Azorius-based control, and Ur-Kori Steel each sit around 4%, essentially unmoved. Doomsday and Dimir Tempo are tied. The story this month is concentrated entirely at the top of the table. Further down the table, Sneak Show keeps doing what it's always done. Show and Tell invites both players to put the biggest thing in hand onto the battlefield, except yours is Gristlebrand. Stronghold Gambit turns it into a bluffing game. The cheapest creature revealed is the one that lands. When Graveyard Hate shows up, these plans simply walk around it. And unlike Modern with its Pro Tour, Legacy has no premier event to time this around. The next one is Eternal Weekend, October 29th in Pittsburgh. Until then, the clock is the banned and restricted calendar. Alright, the receipts all at once. One honesty note before the charts. Every share here is top cut share. Decks that made a published cut, not the whole field. And the trend line comes from 3 separately built dossiers, pulling the same rolling 1-month window, 9 days apart each time. 3 builds, 9 days apart, same method. 9.9%, then 6.8, then 4.4. That's Candelabra, Karn, and the One Ring's whole engine losing ground in real time. And it's ours, not an outside tracker's. Line them all up today, and Reanimator leads comfortably. Tron and lands are essentially tied for a distant second, and the Fantasticar, a deck that didn't exist as its own label a month ago, is already 5th. One more receipt, conversion. When the Fantasticar deck showed up at a counted event, more than half its entries reached the cut. That's 9 entries, so a small sample, while Reanimator converted about a third across 41. Both healthy, neither quiet. For context, and never our own headline since the sampling methods don't match, MTGDecks.net's 2-month view has Tron down around 5%, and AetherHub has started tracking its own dedicated Fantasticar shell. Different windows, different splits. Every tracker agrees on the direction. The next checkpoint is August 10th. Watch whether the Fantasticar, already named by Wizards on the record, draws action in Legacy specifically, and whether Reanimator's steady 9% share with a 34% conversion rate starts looking bannable. At your own Legacy night, Graveyard Hate is mandatory again. An answer to 4 flying 4/4s won't hurt, and whatever you were holding purely for Tron can probably come out. Which is the whole report in one line. So which is the bigger Legacy story this month? The deck that's been quietly winning the whole time, or the one that came from nowhere? We'd argue for the second one, but watch both. The full report is live now on DeckCortex.com. Every snapshot, every deck list, the honest fine print. If this helped, subscribe. The August 10th follow-up is already on the calendar.